And we are live. Welcome, viewers. Welcome, listeners, to my Sunday afternoon second show for the day. I'm here with a very special guest, a friend of mine from the ex-Libertarian Party, which we're going to have to touch on, Sean Finch.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you, brother? Thank you for having me on, man.
Absolutely, my friend. And you are the Heritage Party candidate running for the London Assembly 2021. For what district is that?
It's all of London. It's London
all
wide.
Of London.
So, yeah, because it's sort of a messed up way that in year 2000 the London Assembly was created. Many people think there's been a mayor of London since the start of London. Do you know what I mean? For hundreds of years, there's only ever been three mayors. There's only ever been three mayors of London: Ken Livingstone, Boris Johnson, and Sadiq Khan. But people think, oh, there's been loads of mayors. No, there haven't. There's only been three. So, and I'm hoping the next mayor is going to be David Curtin.
Absolutely. And we definitely are going to get into that, how you met David. I hear it's a very funny story, but not to jump ahead. Who are you, Sean? I mean, you and I connected at the Libertarian Party back in the day, and you've been very active in politics for some time. That's not where you came from, though. So maybe give us a little bit of background from where you came from and how you got into politics.
Well, my name's Sean Finch. Obviously, I'm running for London Assembly for the Heritage Party now. I wasn't always political, although I did have an interest in politics. I did study government and politics in college and history and stuff in school. But I never thought I would actually be running for a candidate ever. And since 2016, I think a lot of people were red-pilled through the whole Brexit and the 1-2 punch of Donald Trump as well, being elected. Yeah. And regardless of what you think, whether you're a Remainer or a Leaver, that's all old language now. It's done. I don't think really Brexit really occurred. Really, I think we got screwed out of it. But whether you're a Remainer or a Leaver doesn't matter. And whatever you think of Donald Trump, it wasn't that woke me up to it. It was basically the reaction by the mainstream media and much in pop culture, and I saw all of this happening, and I was like, "This is disgraceful," and like, I can't believe this is a reaction. And it kind of forced me into this, because it got to a point now where I can't even go and watch a film. I was saying to someone the other day, like a Marvel film, just to see someone getting punched in the face. That's all I want to see: someone getting punched in the face, without some kind of agenda, narrative message being forced down your throat. So nothing is fun anymore. Everything is political. So I just had enough of it. And I've always believed in civic duty. I was a volunteer ambulance attendant at one point. I was in the territorial army, a firefighter, postman, and I just thought, I think it's a civic duty now just to stand up and actually just start, challenging all of this. So that's what I've done. And since my first candidacy was in 2018. Yes. And so for 4 years, I have done 5 elections in 4 years. So I've never actually stopped campaigning. I've never been off the campaign mode. I've done. So this is my 5th election now within 4 years. And that's so unheard of, because it's usually one election every 4 years, but I've done 5 in 4 years. So I'm somehow gaining elections over years. I've defied laws and physics. Go on.
Which is great. I mean, I mean, the running joke with you, Sean, is every time there was a protest,
I am a joke. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, every time there's a protest, anytime there's something going on in London, I mean, long before the lockdowns, it was Brexit, it was issues in the city and stuff like that. Yeah. Some YouTuber would find you out of the millions of people in the entire city, and you would be interviewed on some YouTube clip. And it became a running joke for me. It's like, Sean, don't get on YouTube again.
I just happen to be in the right place at the right time, or the wrong time. I'm always there, and people just seem to like. And since then, I've made a lot of sort of networking. I've networked with a lot of people, especially down at the pub, and like, and since then, now because obviously David Curtin is the leader of the Heritage Party, and he's running for Mayor of London. I've sort of called in all of those favors from people that I've met through the years. Like, even now yourself, thank you for having me on, by the way, and I've said, just to try and get out and promote David and the Heritage Party, and obviously, most importantly, myself. No, I know, but David and the Heritage Party, So that's what I've been doing. I've been on just trying to get him elected, or at least, plan B is, because he's also running for the Assembly.
Yes.
He's number 1 on the list. I'm number 2 on the list. And if he doesn't become mayor, plan B is that at least, hopefully, he can be re-elected, retain his London Assembly seat. Because in my opinion, I'm perhaps sounding a bit biased, but even when I was in the Libertarian Party, I used to say David Curtin is really, Peter Whittle's okay as well, but David is the real sort of the Lion of London, and he's the one that's really challenging the narrative. He's the one really talking against sort of the wokerati and these sort of
the woke walkers. Yes.
Yeah, it's so he's the only one, and I think it's very important for Londoners, and hopefully one day he'll be an MP as well, that the country really, that he can stop this from going on. Because I honestly think, out of all of the mayor candidates I've met, he to me is the only. I wouldn't be on his campaign otherwise. He seems to be the only one that has the sort of natural kind of credential. Well, he's got the credentials of the London Assembly, but he's got this sort of, I think it's a force of good, personally. I think that he is the one that needs to be in there to challenge all of this craziness that's going on. So that's what, that's what brought me into politics. So I started getting into it, and then suddenly it's just all come together. I was in the Libertarian Party at one point, and we had a bit of falling out, let's say, and and it's my sheer luck. Do you want to get into it how I actually met, because it's all sort of connected.
That was my next question, because I know you were involved with the Libertarian Party of the UK, as was I. I think that's kind of where we met, and I think we've had a couple meetings and stuff like that. And so David tends to be a more traditional conservative. So he's fiscally conservative as well, but he's also socially conservative in a lot of his positions. So very profound. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So that's a little slide from the Libertarian Party, which tend to be more liberal and more expressive. Yeah. So, have your views progressed on that, or how did you and David kind of come to terms on that?
Oh my God, it's such a lot. It's a bit of a long story. I'll try and get through it as fast as possible. Basically,
take your time, man. We got like an hour.
Well, basically, there was a by-election in Lewisham in London, right, in South London, and MP resigned and triggered a by-election. And usually what happens at a by-election, or a special election for the American sort of audience, it's basically what happens is that usually all of the sort of smaller, lesser-known parties, because they know that there's only one election going on in the country, usually, at least in the past, all of the media will be focusing on that one election. So it's a great way to advertise their smaller, lesser known parties. So obviously I went, because I was born and raised in Lewisham, and I thought, well, I'll go down there, Libertarian Party and whatever. And it got to the point of the hustings, the political debate of all the candidates, and members of the public asked questions to those candidates. And there was basically a riot. That's the best way I can say it. I didn't know who the hell David was. David was in UKIP at that point. I didn't know who David was. Obviously, he didn't know who I was. And we're suddenly at this Salvation Army Centre in Catford, a little town called Catford. And there's all these people outside, and, they're causing havoc, and they're, shoving people that try and get in, whether you're a candidate or not, whether you're a member of the public, it didn't matter. Anyone that went in to that building was considered, far right, sort of evil, you know what I mean? Like, there's all of this. So me and David happened to be together like that, and both of us had to brunt it and force our way through this gauntlet. It really was like a gauntlet. It was down an alleyway, so there was people on either side pushing, shoving, all that. People were spitting at people. It was absolutely disgraceful what was going on. So I managed to brunt through it, and we got in, and the people who couldn't get in, and there was although there was decent sized people inside the church, the sort of church hall, and we started giving our speeches. And by the way, the reason why these people were there was not because they were protesting me or David, but they were protesting a woman called Anne-Marie Walters, who's still the leader of a party called For Britain. And these people are deemed far right. Now, I don't agree with everything Anne-Marie has to say. I think she's, sometimes a bit too, her delivery can be quite aggressive. And I think that switches a lot of people off. Anyway, she's considered far right, whether people want to believe that or not, it's up to them. And she didn't even turn up. So, but yet the people still caused havoc, So it was like they didn't care. It wasn't really about Anne-Marie. They didn't want anyone to talk because the Labour candidate was extremely weak. And she didn't even turn up herself, the Labour candidate. And they were scared that we were going to, because it's one of the safest Labour seats in the country. And they were perhaps a little bit frightened that it was going to be flipped somehow. So anyway, we got in. We gave a speech. Teddy gave a really great speech. It's all on YouTube still. And I did a video about it a few months ago. It's called on my channel, Delivering Liberty. And it's basically
links below. Anybody interested? His YouTube channel is linked below.
Plugging. That's me shitting. And yeah. And it was just basically, I just searched for that video. It's called When Good People Are Indoctrinated. Something like, it's like a 30-minute video just about everything. You saw clips, like of everyone, So we gave all these great speeches, some of the candidates did, and it got to me. And I something prepared, but I was so outraged by what was going on outside that I decided to get up and say, look, this is wrong. This is meant to be a democratic hustings. These people outside claiming to be anti-fascists, but they're using fascistic behavior and tactics. So they are fascists, and even though I may not agree with everything Anne-Marie Walters has to say, she has every right to be here, and actually say her thing. So got a bit of a good pop from that, good sort of, round of applause and whatever.
Yes.
And they almost like comedic timing. The police inspector walks in and goes, okay, well, we've got to close the event because they're causing havoc outside. And I was just like, there I go, I'm vindicated, because I was on about free speech and all this sort of stuff. So I was outraged by this, and I said, no, we're not having this. I'm not letting them win. So I know Catford really well. So I brought up around there. There's a Wetherspoons pub around the corner. Let's continue the hustings. Candidates, bring as many people to the public as possible, and we'll do that. And out of about 10 candidates, only myself, UKIP, Democrats and Veterans, and the Monster Raven Looney Party showed up with a bunch of people. And I wasn't in the filming back then, so I didn't film. I wish I did. There's no footage of it, but we had a really great. So good. It was such a great night. We all, and we had one too many drinks maybe, but it was like
as you do at the pub.
Great. It was just a really great time. And that's how me and David met. That was, and then obviously skipped 2 years later, and we sort of would occasionally bump into each other at events, and whatever. And David was running for mayor, and I then fell out with the Libertarian Party. Basically, just collapsed now as a party. I would not recommend the Libertarian Party because it is, and I've got other people that can vouch for me in this case. The party leader resigned, the chairman resigned. Student leader resigned, the treasurer resigned, Welsh coordinator resigned, because they were all in support of me, because they saw that there was a great injustice going on by the party was trying to, because I was becoming very popular in the party. I was elected onto the London, the national committee of the party for London.
Yes.
And the people, unfortunately, there's a clique in that national committee who do not like that a common working class man like me and has risen through the ranks, you know what I mean? And like a jumped up soldier becoming an officer. So they didn't like that. Very snobbish sort of behavior. Oh, she was not a real libertarian, all this nonsense. And they all saw it, the committee, and they all resigned with me. I never asked them to support me. I never asked them to do that. We were all independent thinking people who had no loyalty to each other, but they all did it because they could see that there was a great injustice, because I was accused of this nonsense stuff that the chairman ruled in as a independent judge. He said, there is nothing, this is just childish evidence. Like a child would produce better evidence than this. It was dumb stuff like, oh, Sean follows the official UKIP account, therefore Twitter account, therefore he's far right. It's just this sort of like, even though the guy who helped compile the evidence was literally a UKIP MP candidate only 2 years prior. You think like, what is going on here? You know, because I like following the other accounts, the other competition, to see what they get up to. So all these other little parties I was following, and they didn't like. They're trying to find anything that could stick. So anyway, I left eventually. I went, you know what? I don't need this, because I'm becoming like the face of the Libertarian Party, even though I wasn't the leader. But the leader didn't care. The leader was a sound guy. He was like, yeah, great. You're promoting the party, Sean. I don't care if you're mistaken for the leader. Doesn't bother me. But the other people did. So I left. I made a public resignation. I said, I'm off. See you later. And David, I don't know whether David saw it, because we were friends on Facebook. So I don't know whether because it was literally that day when I resigned, he called me later in the evening and he said, Sean, I've seen, you know, I've seen you've resigned or something. I can't remember the exact words. Look, I'm running for mayor. I know you're pretty proactive. Would you like to help me win London? Would you help me, like, you know, become mayor of London? Yes. And I said, yes, David, I would, because, you know, you're a really nice guy. And, you know, and I think you're fantastic. You'd be a great guy. So I said, yes, I will do that. And he said, also, I've got this little party. Don't tell anyone. It's called a Heritage Party. Do you want to join it? And I said, well, tell me about it. And he said, oh, look, it's a socially conservative party. And I know you're a libertarian, Sean, and all this. And I said, well, he told me about it. And I went, well, I'm a libertarian, David. I'm not a conservative, you know, like social conservative. I mean, a small C, not the party. You know what I mean? That's not conservative at all. It's just Labour light sort of.
Labour light,
Top socialist sort of thing. But like, so I said, well, no, I won't join your party because, you know, I'm more libertarian, even though ideas do overlap with each other. You know, it's just, I was done. I was burned out by party politics, experienced that horrible experience. So I said no. But then I was already running for London Assembly anyway as an independent candidate. And my whole platform is going to be to abolish the London Assembly. Like I would say, I want to abolish it. It's useless. I want as little government as possible, and I want that money to go back to the taxpayer. You know, and give the power that is within that body, spread it out with all the local councils, like it used to be with the Greater London Council. So what happened then was that I think David was like, Sean, you're managing my campaign and you're managing then your own campaign. It's just really weird. You know what I mean? So
he appealed to some logic and reason. Like, we are kind of going in the same direction.
And, you know, and I read the manifesto. So it really is a great manifesto. You know, I am trying to be objective. It genuinely was probably the greatest thing I've, you know, in terms of party politics. Probably the most.
We'll get into the manifesto in a bit. Yeah.
Coherent, you know, and like I thought, okay, well, you know, so I don't agree with all of it. I don't think you ever can agree with every single protest. Every single manifesto. I think that if you have at least like 55% in agreement, that's fair enough, because you'll only ever agree 100% if you've written the manifesto.
Pretty much.
He wrote it, right? So I liked it. I agree with about, I reckon, 75% of the manifesto. And I thought, there you go, that's all you need, really. So I joined, and he said, yeah, be my number 2, because you've already sort of announced that you're running for Assembly. So just make it number 2. And so you've joined the party and whatever, and there you go, because you should be rewarded for all the stuff you've been doing, promoting me and all of that. And I said, fair enough, thank you very much. So that's what's been going on. You know, I think he does have a real,
he has a good chance,
at least a decent chance of being re-elected onto the Assembly. And hopefully, if there's enough, because it's done via proportional representation. Oh, good. Hopefully, I can be on it as well as number 2, because David was number 2 last time. So he got on, and Peter Whittle was number 1. So this is the 2 UKIP guys. So he was number 2. So hopefully we can do the same effect again, but obviously this time, well, hopefully he'll be mayor. You know, if he's mayor, then it bumps me up to number 1, and then that's what sort of happens. So let's hope that will happen. So that's how we met, and that's how it's all sort of come together in a weird kind of little way.
It's a fantastic story. I absolutely love, you know, and this is the whole thing. We need to cross party lines. We need to cross ideology. Even though we don't all agree on everything, we love the country. We want to move it forward. There are things we can do, you know, so many years of things we agree on before we come to one thing we really disagree on. And we should focus on those types of things. So when I saw that you joined the Heritage Party, I smiled. It's like, you are the kind of energy to balance off some of the other aspects. I don't know if you still plan to abolish the assembly. That might still be a conflict of interest.
I was saying there's because since this whole lockdown, I think it really has brought in the best out in people in some occasions.
In some cases, yes.
You know, art through diversity. You know what I mean? Like when you're really under the cosh. Since then, we set up like a loose kind of association called Access Media UK. Not David, but I'm talking about me and a bunch of other now sort of fairly well-known YouTubers like Subject Access, Resistance GB, Actual Interview, Tyrant Finder, Immortal Alien, and a few others as well. I can't think of at the moment. So we've all sort of loosely come together. I'm Delivering Liberty, you know, and actually come together.
Yes.
And obviously I've been focusing more on David's campaign, so I've only got about 500 subscribers, but some of the other, like Sam, like Subject Access, he's got like, I think last I saw, he's heading towards 45,000 subscribers, you know, and we're all Resistance GB is about to hit 20,000.
Yeah, I saw you on Resistance GB.
So I wanted to I'm pretty much like I'm like the Rich Evans of Resistance GB. You know what I mean? Like they've got a really weird obsession, like Will and his editor girlfriend. Yes. They've both got a real strange thing about me. Like they've actually created a mini channel called Resistance GB Extra, and it's just about me. Like it's just so like they've just got this weird obsession with me. So, but I was saying to Will the other day, Resistance. I was saying I think I'm like getting into David Curtin's subconscious, because he was on Peter Whittle's YouTube channel the other day, and he does new culture forums, got over like 100,000 subscribers. But he's got a show called So What You're Saying Is. It's named after that. You know, Kathy Newman, was it? Who interviewed
the interview with Peterson.
Everything was like, so what you're saying. So what you're saying is you hate all women. Like, you know, like, it's like that's where it's come from, the name of that show. And he was on Peter Whittle's show, and he said, David said to him, he said, do you know what, Peter, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I think it's want to abolish the entire assembly. Like, I think I'm slowly making David a little bit more libertarian every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm not, that's not my intention. That's not, because, you know, I'm not a person who's just whispering his ear going, shh, taxation is theft. I'm not doing that. Like, I think he's just, I don't know what it is. I think because sometimes when we're in the car together, you know, like driving, because he must be absolutely sick of me by now. We've been together now for 2 weeks, every single day. You know, constantly like going from town to town, whether it be Bromley, whether it be we were Bromley today, Greenwich, Islington the day before, everything. It's like it's really quite sort of wild what's going on.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. It's such a great story, and I wish you all the success. I'm in Wales, for those who don't know. I was in London at one point, and I'm hoping to get back maybe later this year. I got a friend who's opening up a proprietary trading shop. He wants me to come in. So I might be back. And if you're in the big space, man, you and I got to link up, have some drinks for sure.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, by the way, is your camera okay? Because I'm sort of frozen on, it's a frozen picture of me closing my eyes and the time has stopped.
No, yeah, it's moving. It might be
my camera, but I was going to go see you, though. You remember, because there was going to be a party conference, the Libertarian one, in Cardiff, wasn't it? Cardiff, yeah. But obviously, because of the whole lockdown thing, it sort of ended up. But you know what's hilarious about that? It's like I was saying to one of the ex-Libertarian Party guys at NCC, it's like, it's actually been a blessing in disguise that I sort of left the Libertarian Party, because I never thought I would, but I did. And now it's sort of brought me on to better sort of pastures. So what's hilarious is that, you know, it's actually helped me. So thank you, remaining the sort of the skeleton crew of
what's left of the party.
Of the party. Because it's helped me. But and what's hilarious is that they said, "Oh, we need to get Sean out because he's not right for our elite party. You know, he's not right for it. And also like because he'll bring down the party one day. You know, he'll like whatever." And it's just like the hilarious thing was by behaving like authoritarians as they did. Because the committee that was going, the disciplinary committee, were the same body who were my accusers. So it's like they don't even believe in basic English liberty of like separation of powers and justice, you know, because why would my jury ever acquit me if they're my accusers. Do you see what I mean?
Exactly.
And also my judges. You know, it was like my judge, jury, and executioners, and even like the appeals committee. And this is all public document.
Public knowledge. Yeah. We're not slander. There's no slander. There's not. This is all out in the open.
It's the Libertarian Party Constitution. It's available on the internet. You can go in and type it in, you know, search for it. It's a public constitution that says that the National Committee is also the disciplinary committee, and it's also the appeals committee. So the Court of Appeal is also the same body who are my accusers. So not libertarian, you know what I mean? I'm sorry,
yeah, definitely.
Not liberty, like that. So, but I was saying to one of the other guys, so it's hilarious. Like they've caused their own. It's like the police now, or the government now. Like the police are causing havoc at the end of these anti-lockdown protests. And you see, like last Saturday, they tried. You know, everyone was peacefully assembled in Hyde Park, having a good time. No police, no violence whatsoever. And then the police thought, we need to do something. Don't know why. And they did something, and they got absolutely destroyed. You know, I don't like saying that. I know I'm smirking when I'm saying that, but if they caused the violence, they caused the problem to begin with. Had they just done, you know, what do they say? Like a government that governs least governs best. You know, it's like had they done nothing, people were going home anyway. People were going home anyway. You know what I mean? It's like this: the government are causing their own problems. It's like, they were like, hang on a minute, why do we have all this debt? You know, like, you know, it's just like, what? How come why are all these businesses going out of business? Like, why is there all this mass unemployment? Because you caused it. Like,
exactly.
COVID didn't cause. COVID didn't cause your business to be closed. It was government behavior. It was government. You can see this in the states in America that the mainstream media never want to talk about, like Texas and Florida. You see, you know, you see all of these states, South Carolina, was it South Carolina?
Sweden, Europe,
South Dakota, Sweden, various other countries. They just did. The government do anything, and they just thought, no, we'll take a chance of herd immunity, and it turned out. Well, I don't get you. You know.
We'll get struck by the YouTube overlords if we say too much. But you and I are probably very much on the same page when it comes to the government side of the lockdown, which is the next thing I really wanted to address. Obviously, nobody saw COVID coming. Those that swear they did, I think that's a whole other story. That's an Alex Jones segment. I'm not even going to go down. But I'm with you in terms of the lockdowns that happened last year, and obviously the massive fallout that has come as a result of that. You mentioned the businesses that are gone, not to mention, you know, the waiting list on the NHS. Many people are unable to get any of their treatments, and some of these are life-threatening illnesses. Yeah. In many ways, quite what you're saying is that the remedy was worse than the disease. Right?
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of hello, exterminate. I've got an ant infection. You know, there's an ant infestation in my home, and then they go, right, send a nuclear bomb. Like, you know what I mean?
We'll burn the house down.
Yeah, it's just blow it all up. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'll get rid of them. Like, but it is that. And I was saying, I mean, this is the thing as well. I mean, I don't know.
Wait. Let's just start off. So before, when you first heard about, let's go through the problem. You heard about COVID. What was your position in the beginning, during, and where we're at now? Has it changed at all, or? No.
I said from day one, and I think David Curtin was the same as well, like just coincidence. We said, I wrote to my MP, who I don't have a very good relationship because I stood against her in the 2019 general election, and I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I absolutely destroyed her and all the other candidates on stage. But because I'm from a minor party, no one would vote for me. It's like, the fear game of, but that was great, Sean, but I can't vote for you because I'm worried that insert party name here or insert party leader name here, because I'm scared that Corbyn will get in, or I'm scared that Boris will get in. Yeah, so you know what I mean? It's always the fear. So I would say to people is that, well, your vote means nothing then. You're only voting out of fear. I fear when I vote out of the person who I want, whether they win or lose. So anyway, but my stance was from the beginning was don't let the government lock down. Don't let them do this because they're using this as an excuse. Because, you know, Benjamin Franklin, this is like the oldest trick in the book, right? The government, all world governments will use this as an excuse to push higher authoritarianism, to expand the state, because when the state gets bigger, your civil liberties get smaller. It's a constant balancing act. And they will use this as any excuse. He was doing this with the LTNs, or the low traffic neighborhoods, the road blockages, all of that. That all came in via emergency legislation, because they know, had it been done normally, people would have never voted for it. And they use, this is like the Order 66 of things, right?
Right.
So, or the Enabling Act. And I said, like, people have been saying this for centuries. Like, this is the oldest trick. Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't believe that this is a world-ending killer virus, you know, and I'm not going to want to be the guy that says, oh, I told you so. But, you know, that is what happened. I wrote to my MP. I said, don't vote for this coronavirus act, because it is just going to be used. It's going to be pushed for 2 years. And I say it's got to be reviewed every 3 months, And I said, this is what will happen. If you really care about this virus, then don't let the government deal with it. Let the free market deal with it. Immediately remove all business rates, all taxes, all of that, and allow businesses to come up with something really fast to deal with it. Because it's always the private sector that, I mean, you look at anything now, it's always come from the private sector that has solved problems. Government don't solve anything. If anything, they cause the problems, yeah? You see this with, like, vaping, for example, yeah? Like, for about 50 or 60 years now, the government has been using your money and my money, taxpayers' money, because there's no such thing as government money, there's only taxpayers' money, to fail at reducing smoking rates, right? Correct. Well, if it has, it's very, very, very sort of small decline, yeah? And then the private market comes up and goes, oh, we've got vaping. And then suddenly people are like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to try this vaping. And so in a very short period of time, it has cut down more on smoking than 60 years work throwing away taxpayers' money on these stupid ideas, such as putting, you know, these horrible photos on cigarette boxes, which clearly don't work, because people still buy them and look at them and go,
yeah.
And
for those who don't know, if you're in America or otherwise, the cigarettes out here in the UK have like rotting organs and like pictures of lungs that have been opened up. Just to give you an idea, but yeah, it's a futile. Nobody cares. Stupid
things, like you go into a supermarket in the UK, and I don't know about Wales and Scotland, but in England anyway, it's behind shutters, so you can't see the cigarettes. You just tell the person at the kiosk, oh, I want this brand, and then they go behind a shutters, you know, thing, lift it up, take it out, put the shutters back down. So because there's the government think that if you just look at cigarettes, you become addicted. You know what I mean? Like, just look at the packaging. So
out of sight, out of mind. Yeah.
This sort of nonsense, childlike reasoning, as they do with the whole social distance, mate. It's like a child came up with it. Like, you know, oh, put these, you know, things. I don't want to get you get a strike. You know, you put these things on which are non-seal, right? And it will somehow save you. Or the worst ones are the visor, where they have no scientific proof whatsoever. Absolutely ridiculous ones, right? At least the mask one has some like 0 point something, you know. I don't want to get you
percent of difference. Yeah.
It is a drop in the ocean of like that kind of difference. So. And then vaping comes along, and then it's just like, and people go, that really catches on. And now the tobacco lobbyists, who millionaires, they want to drown out the vaping industry by lobbying for more regulations and taxation. Because when people forget, people think that, oh, we just need to tax more businesses. And it's like, no, you're actually helping the big multinational corporations then, because they can afford solicitors, very expensive solicitors, to tax a void. That's legal, not tax evade. That's illegal. Tax avoid. But the small to medium sized businesses can't afford a big solicitor, so then it drowns them out through taxation, business rates, health and safety regulations. And then what happens is the big multinational corporations, who pay no tax practically, then swoop in and take up the small mum and pop store, or, you know, that small little corner shop or whatever. And that's the end of it. So when people advocate for more taxation, they're actually unknowingly helping big multinational corporations. That's why I always say it's less taxation, not more. But I've got what's going on about. Yeah, but if we just leave it up to the private sector, you know, what if that don't get the government. Government can barely fix the roads. Why would they be any good at managing a national pandemic? You see what I mean? Like, if they can't empty the bins on time, or they can't fix the roads, you know, logic here, logic. Why would they do? Why would
same
they
group
be
of
good at
people.
that?
Yeah.
And I said this too, you know, I know you had like Natty on like a few months ago or whatever, and you know, and because me and her used to have like quite big, not arguments, but you know, like
some heated conversations. Yeah,
heated conversations about, because she was all for the lockdown, and yes, we need to do all this, we need to give our civil liberties away, you know, all of this sort of stuff, and even people like I know. Like there was a guy I know now, he's a good guy. He literally created. He was the author of a official government petition which said, release the information. The government to the government, release the information on grooming gangs that are going on in, or as I just call it, child rape, because that's what it is.
Yes.
Release the information. Stop hiding it up. And it got over 100,000 signatures, which means that it has to be debated. Well, supposedly it has to be debated in
Parliament. Yeah.
And you know, it happened, and he was going, yeah, we got to lock down. We got to close everything. Like, you know, pass this law. You know, civil liberties crushed forever. They were like, got to do this. Got to do. You know, it said that, but you know, that was the end goal. He said, we've got to, because this is a national pandemic. And I was like, John, listen to me. Think logically, because you've let the fear get in here. And when you let the fear get in here, you do not think logically anymore. Exactly. No fear. You've got to have no fear of things like this, yeah? And it's like, think about this, John. I said, if the government don't care about children being raped, why would they care about your grandma? Do you know what I mean? Like, think about this logically. This is the same state. I mean, yes, MPs have changed, and there has been a change of the governing parties, but it's made up of the same MPs and the same lords. You know, the MPs are lords now, and mostly the same civil servants, the same generals, the same police, you know, high police commanders and all of this. This is the same state which lied to go to war in 2002 and got thousands of soldiers killed, bombed women and children in faraway countries. This is the same state that has Julian Assange currently locked up in Belmarsh for simply just, well, being a journalist, in my opinion.
Yeah, being a journalist, exactly.
He embarrassed the establishment, and they're punishing him, in my opinion. That's what they're doing. This is the same state that denied literally the biggest democratic act in UK history, you know, the Brexit one.
They fought it, yeah, they opposed it.
Absolutely fought it, like, unbelievable. And this is the same state which have hit up all parties, all parliamentary parties, Lib Dems, everyone, SNP, all of them that have been complicit, hiding up children being raped. So keeping that, that's why a question I asked to not just John, but many others like Natty, I'd say, so with all of that in mind, do you think you can trust this government with your civil liberties?
Quite right. No. That's a great question, by the way.
No, you can't. Right? They don't care about, they're using this as an excuse. I do believe that there is something called SARS-CoV-2. That's the official name for COVID-19. I do think that it does exist.
Yes.
I'll at least give it the benefit and doubt and say it exists anyway, bare minimal. But the effect of it has been greatly over-exaggerated. And
I'll just say on this. So when I first saw the information coming out of China, it was ridiculous. But I took it seriously. They were building hospitals. They were like barricading people in houses. I mean, just absolute mayhem. Yeah. And then it hit Italy, and it kind of started coming into Europe. And we heard all of the fear coming out from BBC and these other places. Everybody's dying, bodies in the streets, all this different sorts of things.
The BBC, sorry, I guess to interrupt you there. The BBC were literally complicit in hiding up the UK's biggest paedophile.
Yes.
Why would I look at the BBC? You see what I mean? Like, it's what I mean. Continue. Sorry, go. So Italy.
I mean, state-run media. This was it. So at the time when they first introduced it didn't affect me. I was never particularly worried. So it's like, we don't really know enough. So I said, all right, I'm willing to say, at that time it was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks to flatten the curve, whatever the bullshit was that they said at the time. I said, all right, I'm not opposing it because we don't know enough at that time. But I shared your concern that this is just going to go on. And then the furloughs came out and everything else. The thinking for me was, look, the minute the government starts paying people to be, they're getting a paycheck, they're going to comply, right?
it's a bribe. They're paying them to not protest. That's what that is.
Completely agree.
I mean, this is the thing. Yeah, I fell out with a lot of friends. Yeah, but hilariously, I've gained more in the long run.
Excellent.
Like, I'm sorry, but there are some friends I'll just never speak to again because, and a lot of these people are supposedly libertarians as well.
Right.
A lot of the libertarian community, like that large, well, I say large, it's got 3,000 people in it, the UK libertarian one, where, you know, often, you know, these sort of people would accuse me, oh, Sean's not a real libertarian, you know, all this sort of nonsense. Yeah, it's like, well, this was the ultimate test, and you failed. You know what I mean? Not you.
You were consistent,
but the people who have spent years in that group going, oh, the state is my enemy, like, oh, it needs to go, and all of this sort of stuff. You know, these hardcore like ANCAP people. I mean, I'm not an ANCAP, and I wouldn't call myself a minarchist. I'm like a voluntarist. I believe in a voluntary society, you know, like where like taxation is voluntary, not forced, because it's not civil. Like, you know, because you've got a gun to your head. So, so I was saying that, so all these people who have run their mouth off for years saying, oh, the state's my enemy, state's my enemy, and then this come along, a lot, not all, a lot of these people got down on their knees straight away and said, please save me. Please, here, have all my civil liberties. Please, have it. Please, state, help me. Help me. I don't want to die. You know, it was all of that. It's just like, you know what I mean? I laugh.
It's laughable.
Some of them were so ridiculous. I remember like the ridiculous things they were saying. Like, it's like, oh, I've done my own modeling, and I determined that there's going to be even more millions of death. And I'm like, not even the wildest government statistic has said that. You know what I mean? Exactly. Like, you know, it's just I couldn't believe the stuff that was coming out. It was unbelievable. It's like, well, I tell you what, it settled the men from the boys. That's what I'm saying, and it settled the cats among the pigeons with women, you know, like with women as well. It's like people. This is the ultimate test. This is the thing, like where even like what makes me laugh, Brook, as well, is that I know a lot of rockers as well, like, you know, like from the rock scene, from the metal scene, and all of that. You know, punks and all that, like, screw the government.
Supposedly like, rebels, anarchists.
Like, it makes me laugh. And they go around their leather jackets still, thinking there's some punch in, and they've got a mask on. You know, it's like, that's your ball and chain. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, that's how I see the mask. It's just a ball and chain in your mouth. You know what I mean? That's what that. So, and they're all going around going, yeah, screw the government, but I'll comply with everything you say. Like, you know, it's like that sort of, like, it makes me laugh. And a lot of these friends, I'll just never speak to them again. Like, even in hypothetically, I was saying to someone the other day, even if all the pubs went back to how it was, say if it all went back tomorrow to normal, to when it was prior in the before time, you know, BC, before COVID. Like, even if it went back then, and they called me up and went, hey, Sean, fancy going to the pub? Like, no, like, why would I go to the pub with you? Like, all you did was sit at home all day playing computer games. You know, one guy said to me, he was my best friend, and he said, oh, it's great, Furlough. Like, I'm at home playing Call of Duty all day. I get paid. I'm like, I mean, listen, mate, like, you're essentially being paid, you like, to not think. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're losing 20% of your money, and now at this point, he's probably that's accumulated now to about 4 months of full pay. You know, like if you sum it all up,
if you put it all together.
And also, you're unemployed. You just don't know it yet, because he works in the arts industry. He makes props for theaters. It's like, the theater's gone, mate. Like, you know what I mean? Exactly. Like, you don't realize you're unemployed. Like, when that, because eventually that furlough will end, because it all comes from, you know, at the end of the day, this is all taxpayers' money. And like I said earlier, it feeds into this. The big multinational corporations aren't paying the taxes. It's the medium to small sized businesses which fund it. So if all the small and medium sized businesses are closing, that means that eventually the money's going to run out for furlough, because the big multinational corporations like Amazon, they're sending their money to the Republic of Ireland and the Cayman Islands.
Exactly.
You know, Jersey and Guernsey, you know, all these tax havens, you know what I mean? They're sending it there. So they're going to be screwed. That's why I'm saying, like, it's sink or swim now, mate.
It's going to get bad. It's going to get pretty serious. You know, as I say, and I know you've been involved with crypto and other things, but really, people out there, you need to start looking at these types of things if you've never done so before.
And Brook's right, because I was like, I just dabbled into crypto before.
Yeah, me too. I never took it too seriously.
Before 2020, I was like, yeah, I had a little bits, a few money into this, but I never, because I was working, I was getting paid, so it wasn't like a big thing for me. And then what changed was during the peak of the pandemic, I got a letter from both my bank account and my building society, and it said, never let a crisis go to waste, and that's with governments, businesses, everything, yeah.
Everything.
And they said, due to COVID, your new interest rate is 0.75. And I was like,
which is nothing.
So, if I'm lucky, I might earn a pound after a year. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like ridiculous. Probably a little bit more, but you get my drift. And I went, it's going to get to the point of negative interest rates where you're going to be paying the bank to keep the money in. Like, so there's no point, in my opinion, there is no point having any kind of savings accounts anymore in banks.
Correct.
I mean, I only use a bank because that's what my work pays me in, so I have to have a bank account. If they said, "Oh, do you want to be paid in crypto?" I'll be like, "Yes." Like, straight away. I'll close the bank account tomorrow. So I just went, right, well, I'm not having that then. 0.75. So I withdrew pretty much all of my money from both accounts, and I said, because I'm going to take control of my own destiny. Then I don't need you. I put half of it into precious metals like gold and silver, and I put the other half into various cryptos. Most of it went into Bitcoin. That's the most stablest coin. And I'll tell you what, mate, this was when Bitcoin was £8,000.
Oh, and well, then you're doing very well. It's almost 60. I think it's like 53, but it's in that range at the moment.
So I have
done well. Let's just
I have more than quadrupled my money in a year. Had I left it in that account,
you would have got a pound and a half, kind of. You would have got nothing.
£5? I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but it would not have been what it is now. Let's put it like that. So, so that's what I've done. And gold shot up. It's like 20-year high. Do you know what I mean? Like, and silver now, so. Yes. You got to do it yourself, guys. I'm sorry. Don't rely on other people. Cut the middleman. Yes. Don't rely on government and banks to do things for you. Do it yourself. Because trust me, these people, you think the government has your best self-interest. It does not. It really doesn't. Like I said, lied to go to war. Julian Assange denied the biggest democratic vote in history. Children being raped for decades. Do you think do you think they care about your grandma? Do you know what I mean?
The state has been getting it wrong for years, right? I mean, I don't know if you remember acid rain was going to kill us all back in the 80s. I mean, 80 or 80s.
We were in Bromley earlier, me and David and a few other supporters, and we went to a stand in the park event in Bromley. Really good turnout, great.
Oh yeah, we have one not too far from here too.
Oh, great. Yeah, but so I brought them. I said, "Oh, David's coming." So quite a decent number of people showed up. It's about 30, 40 people. And then we went to the high street after. We did a great video. Like, this is the thing. Bromley is a conservative area. Yeah, it's got a highly dominated conservative council. All the MPs are conservative. But guess what? There's low traffic neighborhoods.
Yes.
The flower pot things that are disguised as things that narrow the roads, and make all congestion. Yeah, they say it's for an environmentally good reason, but then for cyclists and stuff like that. But then it blocks the roads, cause massive pollution, so it's totally counterproductive. There's loads of them in Bromley. So this is just plug in David and myself, and the Heritage.
I just saw the video with David. Yes.
Yeah. The Conservatives are saying it's only happening in Labour boroughs, vote for us. It's not. It's in Bromley. It's in conservative areas. So they're lying to you. So don't think that, I'm going to vote Sean Bailey. It's like, hello, the governing party of this country is the Conservative Party. They have taken your liberties. They have closed your businesses. They have destroyed lives. Suicide's gone up. My own mother, she has a brain tumor. The NHS won't help her. Because of COVID, like that. Yeah. So if you think Sean Bailey, but anything's better than Khan, sorry, you're being conned. You've been tricked. And I'll say it, Brook.
No, and bro, even out here,
I'll say it because this is tough love, mate. If you're thinking of voting gold because he's better than Khan, sorry, you're part of the problem. Like, exactly. Like you've got this is the reason why the country's gone to crap, because people are voting for the less worst option or the less of two evils. The less of two evils means you're still getting evil.
It's still evil.
It's like you need to stop why? It's like I feel like it's like pulling teeth. It's like all you have to do. It's a simple solution: is not vote for the mainstream parties. That's all you have to do.
And in the London Assembly, which is proportional representation, your vote really does count.
Yeah, it does count.
Unlike a first past the post
it's
system.
It's not, because first past the post is winner takes all. So whoever,
take all.
Like, even if one candidate got I don't know, 40% of the vote, and the other one got, 60% of the vote, then 40% of that constituency is not represented.
Have no say. No say. So in terms of your election, I think it's very important that people can vote their conscience. Your vote actually does matter. There's not as much drive for strategic voting.
If David were to become mayor, that bumps me up to number 1. I only need 5% to be elected. David,
I'm sure it's going to happen for you, man. I'm sure it's going to happen for you.
Well, let's just say David doesn't win, and then he only needs 5%, and then I think it depends. It depends on how many people vote, and it's calculated and stuff like that.
Of course.
So I would need 10. I think it's within 10%. I would need to also be elected, but David only needs 5%. So that's what I'm saying. So vote for David for mayor, because you can vote for 2 candidates.
Yes.
If you want. I'm not endorsing a second candidate. It's up to you who you want to vote for. But make David number 1, I would suggest.
Yes.
And then also on the list system, vote for the Heritage Party. That
Heritage Party.
So
there you go, guys.
Vote for that.
And links are below. So anybody wants the Heritage Party link is below this stream. Right. I do have something that's going to be delivered to me shortly, and I do want to hit on the vaccine passport and your position. Not like I didn't know, but what do you have for the people of London?
Absolutely, totally against it. It's just, again, using this crisis to their advantage. Never let a crisis go to waste. They've been wanting this for decades. I remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Tony Blair, when he was prime minister, he wanted this. And this is why he's back again with that evil-looking hair.
Like the Crypt Keeper.
Like the Crypt Keeper. He's come out of his crypt, and Tales from the Crypt with Tony Blair. And he's basically, because that's his baby. He's been pushing that for decades, and now he's using this as an excuse, a perfect excuse to finally push it. So he doesn't give a damn about whether people had the thing. They don't care about that. He only wants this for. He's just a control freak guy. That's what this is. You have certain people in the world who are just natural control freaks. They're not doing it for money. It's just that they just want to do it because they want to control every aspect of life. Because you always have those people, don't you? You must have worked with people in the past, and you get these type of people at all levels of life. Like whether it be in a simple, like a pub, and you got some supervisor who's just everything's got to be done to specifically, or a manager that you've had, or a colleague that you've worked with. That's all that these people are. They're just a larger version of that. They're just natural control freaks that want to control everything. So it's not exactly about money. It's just in their nature to be a control freak. Whereas me, I'm laissez-faire. I'm like, do whatever you want, mate. As long as it's not hurting me, I don't give a damn. As long as it's not hurting, as long as you're not, the NAP, a non-aggression principle is that you can do whatever you want unless only until that action affects someone else. You know what I mean? Like physically, but you can do what you want. So that's how I think. I couldn't care less what anyone else does. They want to do it their way, do it their way. But I'll do it my way. And if you want to take advice from me, fine. If you don't want to take advice from me, fine. I don't care either. It doesn't bother me either way. So yeah, that's what I think this is about. I'm totally against it. David's totally against it. He's been, and David's like the science guy. He generally has a master's in chemistry. So when he talks about that virus, he knows what he's talking about. This isn't like a politician who's been told by some civil servant, some advisor. This guy generally knows his stuff. So he's been smeared lately on Twitter by a guy called Tom Harwood, who's like this twerpy little Gildo Fawkes guy, wants to be in GB News. And that's another thing. GB News, it's
not going to happen.
I said this. Yeah. I said GB News is just more controlled opposition. It's simply because it's regulated by Ofcom, which regulates the BBC, Channel 4, all of these other sort of oppressive things. So So this is like with Parler. I never rated Parler. I always said that's destined to fail because they totally rely on Apple, Google, etc.
Amazon.
So it can never. So it can never truly be a free speech platform, because if you rely on those things, then either you'll have to kowtow to whatever they demand, or you go against them and they'll cancel you. And that's what they did. So the same thing with GB News. GB News will never be a true or different alternative because it relies on Ofcom to exist, and Ofcom have rules. And if you don't follow their rules, you're gone. So by logic, it will never be a true alternative. It will pretend to be edgy and call, oh, bloody leftists, but really, it will just be the same regressive crap you get on BBC, ITV, and all that. So don't fall for the trap. Again, don't be cons. Don't be tricked by this. Yeah, you need to go to real alternative things like UNN, which is Unity Network News on D Live and stuff like that. They've been banned off YouTube recently. UK
Pretty much anybody who's been banned on YouTube is probably better source of news.
It's amazing. I only have 500 subscribers, and yet I'm on my second strike. I'm off it now, but I've got, I think one has lapsed, so I think I'm back down to one strike now. But I was pretty much near total ban. 500.
You were on the cusp. You were on the edge.
So that's a badge of honor, though. That David Curtin's got a strike in his channel. You've got all of these things. So it's like they want to control the narrative, right? And GB News is just another trick to trick like the people like us and go like, oh, they'll be different. It's like they won't be different. They'll be the same. And you'll see this now with a guy called Tom Harwood. He's retweeting David Curtin saying, this guy is a crazy anti-vaxxer guy. And David and I have never been that. We've been totally about choice. We've been saying that, hey, if you want to get if you want to get that. But in my opinion, you don't need it. I think it's highly dangerous. Again, it's like the analogy again where, I've got an ant infestation, right? Drop the nuclear bomb. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's too much. I've got a slight pain in my arm, right? Chop it off. It's that kind of
it's overkill for something that's just a little bit worse than the flu. Really.
And all of these big pharmaceutical companies, they're making billions and billions on it. Because you remember, big pharma and big multinational corporations, they own the politicians. So of course,
and they can't be sued. They're protected from liability
because the lobbyist firms,
correct,
they own the politician. That's why I always say is that people think, we need more government in the market. It's like, no, we need less because then if the government are in the market, then the big multinational corporations then own the politicians who then make the market rules. Hello, what I mean? So that's so this is what it is. So we don't invite. We're totally against the passport scheme. It's another form of control. They want to control. They want to see where you've been. They want to see what you're up to. They want more money off you via taxation. It's all a racketeering job. It's all of this to control you. So absolutely, totally against it.
Just to say very quickly, because I've got to run, but I remember the last time this bunch of players came out in a pandemic, which was 2009 with swine flu. It was Fauci, NIH in the US, Ministry of Health, and they came up with Pandemirex, which was supposedly the miracle vaccine. And they said the same thing. It's been tested, it's safe and whatever. And it turned out it wasn't safe. It was actually causing narcolepsy. Yeah. And the UK government, same thing, all the pharmaceutical companies got a pass. The UK government refused to admit that for almost 10 years they've been lying to the British people and did not want to pay out I think it's £120,000 you get from that was our government. They did that.
Yeah, so what's different? That's what I mean. The same people.
I'm not saying the vaccine isn't safe. I don't know anything about the vaccine, but I'm just saying these are the same people. Anybody who's hesitant on these people giving you health advice, you have a reason to be hesitant, right? Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Stop thinking the government is your friend. They are not your friend. They just want to make money off you via taxation. That's all that's about, right?
And power.
That's all it is, to expand the state. That's what they want to do. Every law that's passed, it increases the size of the state. You know what I mean? Therefore, your liberties, your freedom shrinks because it's more layers of authoritarian. Honest to God, if I got into power, Brook, as an MP, my solution to everything wouldn't be to make laws; it would be to repeal laws.
Repeal them. If you need
them.
help when you get into power and you need help doing that, give me a call, man. I'll volunteer my time to go through legislation.
If we had a majority, if we managed somehow one day, you know, this is dreamer talking away, to do that, I would repeal so many, because Tony Blair on his one, he created he was like 5,000 laws a year.
And it was like 70 a day or some nonsense.
It was a mad estimate. My solution, repeal every single one. I don't give a damn. Like, repeal all of them. Like the ones that are highly unnecessary, especially the taxation stuff. You know, income tax. Oh, it's only temporary. Fund
nothing is as permanent as a temporary government program.
To fund the Napoleonic War will introduce temporary income tax. Hundreds of years later, we're still paying it. So, you know, this is the thing. Like that Coronavirus Act is not going away. It ends in a year's time. It expires, but I can imagine that something else will come along, or they'll use some existing legislation that already exists to continue this nonsense. Do you know what I mean? Like the Civil Contingencies Act. So that was basically, we already got an emergency legislation called Civil Contingencies Act, but they didn't want to use that because it puts the power into Parliament, not the government. So anyway, So
very quickly, Sean, because I've got to step out here. So what's next on the cards for you, and what is the best way for people to get in touch with you for more information?
Next thing on the cards, win, lose, or draw in whether David becomes mayor or not, and whether I become assembly member or not, I'm considering suggesting to David to campaign for a national referendum on the question of lockdown and vaccine passports.
Brilliant.
That's what I want. I want a national referendum. We're going to campaign for it around the country, and we're going to ask the question: should we continue these lockdowns? Simple as that, yes or no. And I honestly think we would win. So, because most people don't want this anymore. So
I would say, even out here in Wales, one of the options that we have is just no more lockdowns as a referendum.
Give it to the people. Give it to the people.
So I think everywhere should have that.
But they don't want that, Brook. They don't want to give the people the power like that. They want to keep the power. So this is the whole thing. But anyway, you can find me. I'm on Twitter, SEAN Sean Finch.
Link is below for Twitter.
I'm on Facebook, a Facebook page. I'm on YouTube. Delivering Liberty.
I got Delivering Liberty. I got three. I got the Facebook, the Twitter, and what is the other one? YouTube. So those are below. I didn't know if you were on any others.
I'm on Gab. I'm on Gab. And follow like the Heritage Party stuff. You know, Heritage Party London for David Curtin for mayor. The Curtin Club, which is a Facebook group for David Curtin for mayor. And I'll plug Access Media UK and Resistance GB. And, you know, just check out all these alternative guys like Subject Access, great live streamer, all of the events he live streams, like, you know, so you see the truth. You see the truth. You see it in, like, you know, whereas all the media, they pick and choose what narrative, what they choose to report. So all of those guys, and obviously David Curtin's got a YouTube channel, so like follow him and his Twitter and all of that. You just check it out. So
fantastic. My friend, I wish you all the success in your campaign and working with Dave. Tell David I said hi. I am a big fan of his. I also know he's a believer. He's a Christian. He believes in like family values and stuff like that.
That's what the party's about. And I agree with that. You know, that's something I agree with. Traditional family values.
Do I. Completely agree. I love the one he said about, you know, kids need their fathers, and you know us, and that's been a big issue. So I really appreciate him bringing light to that. So do share our, you know, continued success to you and him. The election is what, the 6th?
On Thursday, 6th of May. This Thursday coming, the 6th of May.
So everybody make sure, I think you can't register to vote at this point.
No,
but make sure
you have, either you're registered now or not. It's past the time. But but do vote. Like I said, you got two votes.
Come out and vote.
You can vote for two candidates in the London Mayor if you wish, or just one. It's up to you. And then it's the London Assembly, vote for the Heritage Party. And then there's another election. We're not standing that one, though, because it's like first past the post, and we thought, why waste money? So we're only standing in the London Assembly, London-wide one, and the Mayor. So, and also nationwide, we've got candidates around the country. So hopefully there's a candidate in your area.
I'll look out for it. I definitely will. And they would get my vote. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was our very quick interview. I wish we could have gone longer, my friend. You and I could probably talk for like a good few hours.
Oh, mate, yeah. No,
I'll have to have you back on. Maybe after the whole thing, we could do a debrief and you could share the experience and all your plans going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Because we're going
to get you on for a while, man.
Because Brook, we're going to the count, and we're not going to be wearing masks. I'll tell you that now. So we're going to see what happens. So
and yes, our friends over at What's Happening?
Yeah. What's happening?
They say hi.
Oh, thank you.
But I told them that I was having you on. So just a quick shout out to them. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, all of the links are below. I will get your Gab. Send me your Gab. I'll add that to the description below if anybody wants like alternative media. And again, my friend Sean Finch running with the Heritage Party for the London Assembly 2021. So thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you all next time.